Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Guess the WN8, where my viewers send me replays and I have to guess their stats based on nothing but their gameplay. If I get within 2% of their wins or 250 of their WN8, then I win. Isn't that nice and merry? And if I don't, then I have to give them gold. This is a paid replay, so if you want to find out more about how to guarantee that your replay is used, then look in the description. £10 and you guarantee a featured place where I shall be tormented by attempting to guess how good you are. Now, Burnosk, a 3-marked Burnosk at that, and that is quite something. Very, very difficult tank to 3-mark the Burnosk, especially given that we have a fairly regular ammo load out here. We're actually seeing some standard APCR, believe it or not, absolutely wild, and some HE. Not all Burnosk drivers carry HE because you are a little limited in the ammo quantity. Let me just get my chat up here so I can see. Right, equipment-wise, vert stabs, optics, and improved aiming, most likely to compensate for the .42 accuracy and 3.5 second aim time. Hot diggity damn, that is hard to work with. But no low noise. We do have bounty optics benefiting the 390 meters of basic view range, and of course the base camo of the Burnosk is among the highest on tier 8 mediums. Not as good as something like the Object 416, but the 416 is very much an outlier. It's worth noting as well that you can mount a CVS on the Burnosk, and a lot of players do take one as an alternate setup. Interesting to note there, that shot was taken as the KPZ was behind this foliage here, which is why he didn't get spotted, so if he did that on purpose, it's stupid play. Let's note it for later. If we see any gameplay like that again, then we'll know. Okay, so most likely that didn't connect, otherwise he would have been spotted. Should potentially have fired earlier if he wanted to secure the kill here, but will most likely, after the 22-odd second reload, be picking up a blind fire, I would imagine. Oh, and that looked like a connection from one of the big old guns at the back there. How nice is that? Blind fire HE, now that's gotta be the shit pack at this point. There's not much on the enemy team that would be justifiably firing HE at this position. Shit pack platooned with the Jagdpanzer 2. There's only a couple of positions we can say that comes from. Maybe behind the house back here, more than likely up by this position. Our Burnosk is making headway towards that KPZ, so yep, we do get a spot. And we do get a shot. Wonderful! Okay, we want to take stock. One of the most important things about this game is that there's no light tanks. Right? So, what do you have that represents mobility, camo, and vision? Where you've got the Burnosks, right? So, at this point in the game, as a Burnosk player, you're thinking, okay, where can I exploit? There's no light tanks. And so, this maneuver is actually viable, and it's not just viable because there's no light tanks. Obviously, if there was presence in the mid, you would get funked up making a maneuver like this, but it's also where his team is. Look at the amount of fire support that he has behind him. Anything that gets spotted in this location and tries to overpeak him is just going to get absolutely annihilated, right? And what I'm expecting, and what I'm hoping, this is a 3-mark Burnosk, so this is a fairly decent call. What I'm expecting is locating around this area for our friend in the Burnosk. Why am I thinking that? Well, because it cuts off exposure to the southeast flank. Right, so shots that come from down here, we've most likely at this point got some manner of presence from a G-Saw and E50M poking up in the little bush that's around here, and that does provoke a crossfire angle if you were to be spotted around there, not to mention people poking up on this safe, relatively safe flank for a pot shot at him on the top there. So I expect him to be using this angle for the lay of the land cover on the wide angle as he's spotting these TDs here. And he's going to duck into the night if he knows what he's doing, and he does indeed. Wonderful stuff. So that position could still be occupied at this point. We mentioned earlier, right? Ship pack platooned with the Yak Panther. Is he going to take these shots here? He does pick one up. He didn't see anything in front of him and doesn't get lit. The range of the Yak Panther 2, I believe, is 360, so going to have trouble spotting through the foliage here. Now, what are we missing at this point? There's always a question you want to ask. We're missing a UDES 14. Are we missing anything else? No. Right, that's a huge amount of the possibilities filled in. And priority target right there, the Belask. What we talked about before, that is their vision, that is their camo. Once you take that off the battlefield, what replaces it? This is how you can assign importance to particular vehicle roles. Because if you kill the E75, the enemy have an IS-7, they have a 50 TP, they have an ISM, they have a Skoda, they have things that can fill in the blank, fill the gap that tank leaves. But if you kill the Belask in this situation, there's no substitute. There's nothing that the enemy team can say, okay, we'll fall back on this. It's like when you got a 1319, you have a Belask in the back. Well, you play the Belask defensively because the 1390 is primarily a scout. But if the 1390 dies, you still have the backup of the Belask. Which is why, in this circumstance, you, as a player who represents these things, camo, viewing, adaptability, versatility, ambush potential, you need to focus vehicles on the enemy team that directly oppose and counter your primary style of gameplay, because once they are dead, your gameplay is facilitated via their absence. IS-7 in the booty. 190 APCR pen. Now, APCR does do very admirable things against spaced armor, but 190. I'm assuming this is standard ammo here. All right, let's have a look. Yeah, 190. Very impressive to have a 3 mark, but two Belasks together, 360 alpha damage per shell, 720 in a clip, 2 seconds in between the two shells. And I could launch... Hello, everyone, by the way. So I'm not introducing myself to you at the moment. The first-time chatters popping up. But we are in YouTube mode, so please do forgive me. Now, I could wax lyrical about why two-shot autoloaders are toxic for the game. But two-shot autoloaders? This is what my nightmares are made of. And Belasks at this stage of the game, being on full health, you can say you've played well, almost regardless of what you've done, because we talk about the importance of retaining hit points in autoloaders. And the reason that is so important, I feel like I cover this every time, but the reason it's so important to maintain health is because when you're in a single shot tank, you have the same output potential on a one shot as you do on full health, right? It's still that one shot, that alpha damage that you have. Maybe you do 400, maybe you're blessed and you do 750, whatever you might do. An autoloader, its gameplay is predicated, that's unfortunate, bold. Its gameplay is predicated on, took some track of, well, on being able to say, okay, shoot me. Because when someone does, okay, shoot you, you get to put 1, 2, 3 shells into them during their reload. That's the dynamic of an autoloader. So when you're on a one-shot, your gameplay as an autoloader is vastly different in a way that just doesn't apply with a regular tank. And that's why you should play autoloaders essentially as if you have 400 hit points less than you actually do. For people who are inexperienced with the nuance of autoloaders, that basic guideline I feel like can really help people to appreciate just how valuable their hit points are in autoloaders. And this is, you've got to go for the E75. Look, if he lives this, it'd be wild. Going low, but now poking high on the high line. There's no way out at this point. There is no way out. What would I do in this situation? I mean, this... To be honest, the only thing that you do to try and win this game is you Houdini. And it is a long shot. It's a shot in the dark, but you wait until you disappear. Right? You're off the map. And you have, at this point, E75 is coming uphill, 5 seconds of unspotted time, maybe. It's just enough time to perhaps get yourself into that bush. You sit there and you hide. And you hope that the E75s think, oh, he escaped that way. And you hope that the Skoda, when he's coming along here, doesn't proxy you. And if he does, you go and you only take the kill shot once you're there. I've done this a couple of times before in my Even 90. It's something that I did in my recent ELC versus Kolobanov's video that I posted on YouTube, which people enjoyed. It is occupying a position and just letting the enemy pass. Right? But the sort of higher skill cap version of that is that, yeah, sometimes you'll get proxied. It happens. You can't always dodge people by being at a bush. I do it a lot, but it doesn't always work. But people don't respect proxies too much. When people don't expect something, they take longer to respond to it. Because someone will say, okay, oh, he's gone away. And they'll look over at the side, they'll take a drink of water, something like that. It happens. It's a legitimate thing that you can consider. So when you're sitting in the bush and someone's coming past you, and you know, based on how they're driving, that they don't know you're there, right? You can assume that when they spot you, if they get that proxy, there will be half a second to a second of additional reaction time. More so than there would be if they were expecting your presence in that position. And what that allows you to do is just get a slight advantage. You can get a slightly better angle by moving just as they spot you, right? To the side to get a penning shot. Or, in the case of the Skoda spotting while he's going past, you can move from there to there before you take the kill. Before you make it loud, right? Before you take that kill and everyone turns around. And the reason for that is because these E75s come up and over there. Maybe the timing works perfectly and you can scurry out over there. It's a long shot. I doubt it's going to happen, but that is the only winning play at this point in my book. Stop. I would have stopped in that bush. But he's going, bless his heart. Oh, he's having a go, bless him. I can do this. Jesus. Okay. I am eating my own ears right now. Another E75 misses. I thought I heard 2 shells come from the E75's general direction, which would imply 1 shot out of the blast unless the ISM's up there as well. Or, based on that reload, a stock gun from one of the E75s, which is certainly viable. They can wield a 105mm gun, certainly in this patch. Now, ISM last spotted certainly on more than 720 hit points, long spot in the E75 there. Now, this is one of those situations where you look back and, you know, it sort of proves me right. But, you know, it sounds like a bit of a cock saying that, but I mean, you look at this endgame situation and think how much easier it would be were the Benosk to be dead. Because that's the opposition, right? You're not fighting the view range of an E75 or an ISM, right? You're fighting the view range, the optics, the potential CVS wielded by that enemy Benosk. And he can clip you. Oh, and that's gold. That is a gold. Don't. 20-second snap when you load. Lovely. You have just just enough, and that is good info on that ISM. That is really good info. You have just enough time to get that reload. You're gonna need to be aimed when you fire, though. 240 mil on pen. Can you get a track shot? Gently does it. The HE clip. Does the ISM pick you up? Do you hard stop it? Do you keep going? ISM at distance. One of them's left the cap. That is absolute gold. Are you doing... Oh, this is gold. This is absolutely gold. Low plate now to the right side of the building, into that bush line. Keep as low as you possibly can. You might want to be aiming out to the left just in case you catch a glimpse of the E75. That is bold gameplay, dude. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. 18 seconds, and he is going to get this angle. Potential for the 3 kill on the left side here. Well, but E75 has ducked all the way out. E75 not looking. Let's aim for the engine here. Let's wait. We've got 4 seconds. Okay. I have to take the shot because we're pressured by the cap. Wonderful. Okay. So, 12 shells remaining. And that E75, these guys are in a platoon together, so there is communication between the two of them, which is nice to see. This ISM has represented passivity for as long as you... you can go. 4 minutes left on this game. Now, based on the ISM's gameplay, we're not that threatened by him. He is the most isolated tank, which generally means we want to go for him. But he's also the least threatening tank in terms of ability. Right? In terms of, he's a tier lower than the top tier opposition. So it's debatable whether we want to expend these shells. Now, I mean, we probably do if we get clear side shots here. But there's a debate that I would be having in my head of, okay, is the E75 going to come up this way? Maybe I can get a cheeky angle on him from this area back here while I'm catching, right? An ISM in the middle of the swamp in the low ground? On a scale of threat... from 1 to 10, that is a 1.8. Like, no one cares. Like, no Benosk has ever looked at an ISM in the middle of a swamp on an open lap like this and gone, oh no, you know, like... So if we're talking about priorities, the E75s that are coming after you, that are chasing you down, better view range, better armor, better threat. Alright, so that is where we want to direct the damage. But I mean, funny damage is funny damage. And it does give the potential, or it gives less potential for the enemy team to have recourse. At that point, correct thing to do, it would have just been something I would be considering at that point. Right, and now let's talk about this from a point of view of the enemy, because we talk about how overpowered two short autoloaders are. Well, not necessarily overpowered, just broken, right? And, you know, some debate that Benosk probably is overpowered. Okay. What is the recourse from the enemy team? Luck, in large part. You have to prevent knowledge, because that is the chief attribute that the Benosk gets afforded to it via its counter-ranging, via its view range, via its mobility. It is knowledge, adaptability, the ability to come at you from an angle that you are unprepared for. The only counter to that, when you lack these things, these E75s don't have camo. They have fair view range, but no camo, not really great mobility. The only counter is by using the map. And how can you use the map to limit offensive capabilities? Well, corners, right? Corners. Not just in terms of, oh, it's a city, there's corners of houses, but corners of the map. I mean, if you are in A1, you've got 90 degrees that the enemy can come at you from, right? If you're in the middle of the map, it's 360. It's basic geometry. Right? So you can infuse that into your gameplay tactics when you're trying to limit options. The closer you are to the corner of the map, the less approaches the enemy team has for you. Now, am I saying that these E75s should camp in A0? It doesn't lose. Do I want to sit here and encourage people to camp in the corner in endgame situations like this? No. It's shit. Would you do it in real life? Fuck yes. Because it's a strong position, you know the approach of the enemy, and you don't lose. You might not win. You basically kick the ball into the enemy team's court. And to be honest, at this point, the boss could just cap, right? If in that hypothetical. But it is sobering, I guess, for me wanting engaging gameplay to sit here and realize that, yeah, sitting 2 E75s at A0, assuming the boss doesn't have knowledge of that, it basically precludes the boss from winning. The boss can't win that fight. If he goes in, if he closes distance, E75s can dictate, push them together, they win. And so, I don't like it, but corners of the map are strong in endgames when you're trying to limit the recourse of a more mobile tank. These guys watch my videos or something? Oh my goodness. 2 short autoloaders, dude. And this is why I was talking about also about limiting knowledge. It's not just positioning, it's not just knowing the general approach, because unless you get a lucky blind fire, that's not really going to solve anything. It's limiting angles of sight. Limiting angles via which the enemy can acquire information. Positioning in the corner of the map limits approaches, but not sight lines, right? Unless you're very mindful about your positioning. I was wondering if the using device was going to be up in the corner there. It's entirely possible that both of them are in this corner, and if he manages to win this against 2 using devices in the corner, be very impressive. Certainly you can do some bushwork here. I'd be nervous about the approach on the left side here. We shall see. And look at that Bond optics. Patience. Wow, he takes that shot. Amazing. Okay. Did he still not get spotted? I'm sorry. He is not double bushing that. Not at all. He was so close. So, this is a dynamic in World of Tanks that's not really appreciated by a lot of people. If you take a kill shot at close enough distance with a fast enough shell, you won't get spotted for that kill. Generally, that's like 70 meters. But this shell was apparently fast enough that the spotting check didn't work for this E75. And so the other E75 gets essentially zero information. Now, you can pop and reload here. There's basically no reason not to. The enemy E75 can't assail your position. And valiant effort by these E75s tactically. As I talked about, they took a strong position. But the ball was never in their court, right? Because this tank has view range, camo, ability, versatility.
I knocked my tank out myself. I didn't need it anymore.
Hello, motherfucker.
My Twitch chat has no mercy with the sound effects. I mean, regardless, excellent gameplay. Absolutely fantastic gameplay. The Blast, for all that people might claim it's overpowered, right? People might claim it's busted. And it is, you know, there's merit to those arguments. It's not an easy tank to play. It's not a low skill cap. You don't just jump in it and you have a magically good game. And it's why I tend to call it busted or broken as opposed to overpowered. Because in my mind, an overpowered tank is one that someone can hop in and they will do better than they otherwise would be by merit of a certain facet of the tank. Right? The Balask isn't like that. You put a bad player in this tank, they will have a bad game. It's just that the skill ceiling is sort of irredeemably high compared to other tanks. And that's not necessarily something that breaks a tank. A Victor 100 has a huge skill ceiling. It is simply the ability. The two-shot autoloader, it's just busted. It's just not good for the game. Simple as that. How good do I think this player is? Very good, because defensive play at the start is stewarded, opportunistic. Had he played aggressively at the start, he would have taken at least one HE shot on the KPC 07 at heart RH, probably been HE to hell by the shit pack as well, and he would have died. Right? Aggressive play at the start wasn't viable. But you notice that as soon as the enemy Balask was spotted, or as soon as it became clear that the Balask wasn't present in that position that he was looking at, he went forward and he exploited. He was aware of the fast support that he had from his team being very defensive in these positions, and he utilized it to disrupt the enemy team's defensive lines back here, and then came all the way around and started doing some more work. It's indicative of very, very good gameplay. And the end gameplay was stewarded. Not really an awful lot to complain about. I mean, you can say what you want about this final poke. I honestly think he just got unlucky. Like, that's just timing. Like, you poke out the first time, you don't see him, and then he just comes out just as you're... Like, there's only so much you can do, and I think he did 95% of what he needed to in order to ensure a good outcome to this game, and just got unlucky. As it turns out, the RSM landing that one random shot won them the game. Yep. So, what am I thinking? Let's note down, and people, if you're about, any chance you can do a poll for these people? The estimate is 61.53 and 3,152 WN8. Let's see. Come on, be on the money. Wow. Wow, okay, I pretty much nailed the recent, but we go via overall. So, I am way off. For an account at 55%, that is very, very impressive gameplay. That is very impressive. Perhaps I should have taken into account more of the ammo loadout. Admittedly, we had really good equipment choices, but not a lot of players sort of at 60% wins are firing standard ammo in the Blast. And not a lot of good players are carrying HE, to be honest. But yes, now it comes time to take Crusaders points. Peabody, I have failed, Funter. I owe this gentleman some gold, which I'll give him now. But for everyone on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. Check the description for the next and previous episodes in this series. And do be sure to check out the full playlist as well. There's also information in the description about how you can submit a replay if you want to torment me with a game of yours. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
You better never ever shoot versus the man, cause that's a jerk off his hand, hence you're a permanent ban, yep. like in a roleplay game. You wield a dagger but get smashed from half a globe away. But don't worry, mate, he's sorry, eh? You could have known though, it's all the same story, eh? You better not berate him, he is living in the country next to the US.